back to the phones with Aaron in Russellville, Missouri. It's great to have you, sir. I really appreciate your waiting. Hello.
Make it a nose rush.
Thank you, sir.
Regarding your comments earlier about millennials' obsessions with suffering and the way that shows through in the entertainment they like and the way they behave on campus, unlike the baby boomers that you say had to make up their suffering, I think millennials really have had suffering, but it hasn't been existential suffering caused by the real threat of war or the real threat of poverty. It's been suffering caused by the culmination of all the factors in America breaking down the family. They're suffering as a result from the bad decisions that their parents have made and then that they've made because they haven't had good examples, and they've been taught moral relativism, to go do what you feel is the right path for you, which is a recipe for misery a lot of the time.
You could be right. I haven't taken the time to delve into it deeply enough to form my own conclusion as to why this is happening. I'm just at the stage where I've just observed it. And it's one of these things that I have been sensing, but never even put words to it in my own mind as I was pondering it until this weekend. And it was just a couple things happened at the same time, came together. Happened to watch some television, happened to read some reviews of these shows that I have seen, and it all came together. And if you're just joining us, folks, one of the first things I mentioned at the top of the program was an observation I've made that with millennials and television, entertainment, movies, what have you, the more trauma and the more suffering, the better they think it is. I mean, critically, artistically. I'm not talking about how entertained they are. I'm about how critically, artistically brilliant it is. And it's because, as they plainly write, they're suffering and they're trying to find ways to cope. And all the trauma and all the suffering and all of these TV shows that they like and watch hold the key to dealing with all of this suffering and trauma and maybe not overcoming it, but at least understanding it. So you are giving us your reasons as to why they might be in this frame of mind.
Right. I'm 36, so I don't think I'm technically a millennial, but I have friends who are, and these are kids who have grown up with massive insecurities. They didn't know their dad. They've been through divorces. Their parents never got married. They've had mom having boyfriends over, different ones every weekend. That's a recipe for abuse. And so I think if you see in the entertainment, a lot of it is psychological trauma, not just physical trauma, but, these people suffering psychologically, and that's what they can relate to.
Well, you're right. In fact, most of it is psychological or mental or emotional. But the thing that I've noticed, and let me add to this, there's a valor in it. They're not so much complaining, although they are, is that they are, it's just the way it's their reality.
I think you're right. The valor associated with it, these aren't people who've been out and have, fought against some enemy, and that was their heroism. They've put up with this, and they think that's their heroism.
That's a good point. The heroes are those who suffer the most. In these TV shows and movies that I'm getting my input from, the people that suffer the most, the people with the most trauma, not how they deal with it, not how they overcome it, not how they defeat it, just they're the heroes. And it really is, if you had to summarize it, you would say the attitude is that life sucks, and it's only going to suck. It's never going to do anything but suck and be bad. And so this is our lot. And how we deal with it defines who we are. There's no optimism whatsoever. None. Now, as I said, I haven't taken the time to really delve into the cultural reasons why this might be, but I will bet you that if anybody honestly tried to dig down deep into it, they would find at the root level liberalism and all of the various aspects of it. Liberalism is a personal failure. It's an institutional failure. But what does it contains all this promise. Liberalism is where utopia is. Liberalism leads to utopia. What's utopia? Utopia is unbridled, never-ending, almost incomparable and happiness, contentment. And, of course, it's not possible. There is no such place. And yet the dreamers dream of it. And when it becomes paramountly obvious that there is no utopia, that's a crushing, crushing blow. And who is it that promises this utopia? Democrat Party promises it. College professors and so on promise. But in addition, at the same time, all of this utopianism is preached. You can't escape the fact that these kids are beat over the head every day with how rotten things are, how unfair things are, how mean, how this or that. And it's a bad thing as an identity.